Hi and welcome to The Inquisitive Artist, where I, Lindsay Tyson, dive deep into the lives, art and creative processes of fellow artists. I'm fascinated by how others approach their work, their unique perspectives and the ways they navigate life. Join me as I explore candid conversations with artists and creatives from all walks of life. Together, we'll discuss the challenges of the creative journey and share insights to encourage your own artistic path. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to part 3 of this 3-part episode where I have the pleasure of speaking with artist Kane Cunningham. Kane is a landscape artist whose thought-provoking creations explore the environment, impermanence and human connection to place. Throughout this series, Kane shares insights into his artistic journey, his inspirations and the stories behind his work. We also delve into the infamous house project. Whether you're an art enthusiast or just curious about the creative process, this conversation offers a fascinating glimpse into the mind of an artist who challenges us to see the world in new ways. I hope you enjoy this in-depth exploration with Kane Cunningham.
Yeah. So it's part of a strategy really, and I think that's the problem with artists, is that in the north of England, is that we're working with galleries, and there's a real problem. You know, do you keep your prices at a certain level and affordable, or do you nudge them up and sell less? Yeah. You know, so do you keep them that way?
I'm at that point at the moment.
Yeah, well, but then you've got to get to a different circle of buyer, the wealthy set. And how do you get into that wealthy set? And I got to that point a few years ago where I could sell them for £6,000 or something, or £7,000. And I'm on a website now that some of my paintings are up for £18,000.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Are they selling?
No. But the point is, that's a benchmark of what you know. And I'm on the same gallery or the same website as a Banksy and Johnny Depp.
Really? And what was the gallery called?
It's called Quinn's Fine Art, based in Manchester. So I'm in that context. You know, so you see, so if the smart ones would have seen that those paintings for 18,000, and then gone to the auction, well, it's only 2.5 or 3. They go, oh, I'm going to get that. So you hope that investors have come along and gone, oh, you know, maybe the purchaser. But you also hope that people buy your work because they love it, and they want it on the wall indefinitely, you know. So the auction was strategic. It was deliberate. I was prepared to take a hit on some of the paintings, but it was the idea.
Did you put a reserve on them?
Yeah, they had the reserve. Yeah, the big watercolours are the reserve, but some of the other ones didn't.
And I had a look at your catalogue, and some of your earlier work, you've got some real cubisty sort of...
I was ripping off Picasso years ago.
A lot of different styles, haven't you? So at what point did you change to become this landscape painter?
I think it was a gradual process, but I've always been interested in the landscape. And I think I became more interested in the landscape the more I read about climate change and the politics of landscape. There's a very good book that I read when I was a student called The Making of the English Working Class by E.P. Thompson. And it's about 4 inches thick. And it's about... And so I became very politically aware when I was 18, 19. I used to go to Marxist lectures.
Did you?
All sorts of stuff. So I became very aware of the politics of landscape and this idea of the contested landscape.
What does contested landscape mean?
Well, who owns that field? And what can you do with it?
Right, okay.
Yeah? No, I own that field. You own that field. I own that field. Oh, okay, if I own that field, there's all those mineral rights. No, you can't dig a hole in the ground. Yes, you can dig a hole. You know what I mean? That's the idea of contesting.
Right, okay.
The contesting what you can do with it, and how you can what the landscape means for people. What it means this to me. So if you go to the Lake District, you go, actually, the landscape means to me poetry and hills and mountains and long walks. To an industrialist, it means, you know, slate. It means farming. It means this. You know, so it's about how financially probably what it means, and philosophically and ideologically what it means to individual people. Mm-hmm. So I became much more aware of the politics of land. Like, give an example, is that the Lake District a few years ago, Derwentwater, there was a triathlon, so it's running and cycling and swimming. They had to cancel the swimming bit because the lake was full of algae because of climate change. Derwentwater was green. So the colours of the landscape are changing, you know, and that's directly as a result of climate change and, you know, some horrendous weather that the Lake District seems to get. So I've become much more politically aware of the landscape, and it became a subject matter I became really interested in. And I also really enjoy being in the landscape. I've been walking for 50 years. And then now I only just feel now I'm ready to paint the landscape of the Lake District. 50 years since I first went there.
Would you move there?
I'd love, if anybody's listening, a 4-bedroom detached Edwardian house by the lake with my own big studio and my own Swallows and Amazon boat at the bottom of the lake on the mooring. Yeah, I would, but I can't. I've not got 2 million quid.
So you would move if
I'd move to the Lake District. Yeah, I'd move to the Lake District if I had the money.
Is it your favourite?
It's my favourite. I've been going there since I was 13, and I went on a school trip. And for years and years and years, I didn't know where it was, this place. But I remember this frieze, this sculpture above the fireplace that was just full of smoke from the log fire and the coal fire. And I discovered it about 5-6 years ago. I walked into this hostel. It's Glaramara Hostel in Borrowdale. It hit me like a brick. Like, wow! I found this place that was in my imagination, in my dreams, and it was like a hostel where inner city Manchester kids would go every year and spend their summers there or a week there, a week there, and introduce them to the Lake District and walking. And I've been going back every year for 50 years. Wow. I take my grandchildren there now.
Fun.
Yeah, so it's a really important place to me for all sorts of reasons. But I'm not a painter who just rocks up and paints what I see. I'm a painter that has to understand the landscape. I need to know what I'm looking at. I need to know why that hole is there. I need to know what is it about that space that I'm looking at that connects to me, sort of geologically, architecturally, into local architecture, people, the space. I need to understand, and also now I also read a lot. So there's, like in Borrowdale, there's a lovely story called Rogue Heres, set in the 18th century, and there's a monkey in the pub that wears a pink jacket. And what a lovely colour to introduce into your painting. Yeah. And Rogue Heres himself wears a purple riding jacket, and his love of his life is Mirabelle Star, a wild gypsy that lives in the caves with bright red hair. Now, how good is that? Those are colours that you can bring into your painting straight away. Yeah. So that side of it, the literary connection to the Lake District is really important, as well as the geological and the climate stuff. So all of that stuff is in my head, but that's what brings me there. But it's not what I'm focusing on when I'm painting. Yeah. I go, wow, this is it. I'm really excited.
And you're actually painting a contemporary landscape.
Yeah, contemporary. Exactly. Every time you paint, it's a contemporary landscape. Because you are painting the impact of climate change on the mountains and in the Lake District. And the colours of the landscape change as well. If you think about driving through the walls around here, they use different kind of crops. It'll be bright yellow, or it might be. So for economic reasons, they will plant whatever going to make the most amount of money.
You told me that you're not represented by any galleries, so do you want to just tell me a bit more about your point of view about?
The problem with, a lot of galleries spring up in North Yorkshire, where we live, and it's usually by people who know bugger all about art. Mm-hmm. You fancy running an art gallery, and they've got a bit of cash, and then they're seeking as many artists as they can to they might have a preference for a particular style, but they're really looking for artists to sell work, because they've got a shop. Yeah. They've got rates, like everybody else. Yeah. They're running a business. So they're looking for work that will sell. But the problem is with that is that it'll usually to kind of end up coming to the common denominator of what sells, and it might not necessarily be the best work. What you really want is a gallery that's going to be there for the long term, and it's going to be there helping you, nurturing you, supporting you, building an audience, and helping you grow as an artist, and with some sort of stability. Those are the best galleries, and they tend to be the London ones because they've got the finances to do that. But there's a lot of galleries in London that come and go, that spring up and then disappear, and then artists are looking for new galleries. And I've heard in other cases where an artist's style of work has changed because they're evolving, and then the gallery says, I'm sorry, we're not interested in your work anymore because it's not what we want. We don't think we can sell it. There's some collectors out there that are investing in that, are working with, come to the studio, they like your work, and they want to build a relationship with you.
How do you actually get obviously you've had the auction. Yeah. How do people find out about you, and how do you get your work out there generally? I mean, obviously
I get invited to stuff, you know. I get invited for exhibitions.
Yeah, because you have quite a lot of big, you know, solo exhibitions where you'll have lots of big work, don't you? You actually had a lot of exhibitions, but you're not actually represented by a gallery.
I'm
so
not,
how does that usually? They just hear about you, or they know you?
Well, I'm everywhere, aren't I? Really, I'm a right pain in the arse. But that's been part of a strategy over the last 10, 20 years, is get to be really known as an artist, and then hopefully. But it's really interesting because I had a show at Rydale Folk Museum, and so I had all my big watercolours and some abstracts I've been working on. And his family came in, and I heard this guy. I was with Louise, my wife, and this guy said, "Oh, well, that's a Kane Cunningham painting." And he looks at my abstracts. "What are these crap? What are these? Oh, I hate them."
Did he know they were yours?
No, but then
I
think he clicked. It was me.
And then he realised you were stood there.
Yeah, he realised I stood there. Yeah, I said, "Actually, that crap's mine. Actually, I quite like that crap." You know, but actually, inspired by Andy Goldsworthy. Actually, I got inspired by some of his sculptures up in Rosedale. But it demonstrates that you get known for a particular style, of work, and I get that. And they want that kind of painting. They don't want something different. But what's interesting about the auction is that there are so many different kinds of paintings. There was something for everybody. There was something for everybody, and that's what happened. So all sorts of things disappeared out of the auction rooms that are, you wouldn't recognise them as being one of my paintings,
right, yeah.
other than if I signed it.
Yeah,
and I quite like that. And I like that idea that I can do what I want. And if I got into, I remember a friend of mine was with the London Gallery. So Mick, he said, "Can you paint cats? Put a cat in somewhere. Cats are really come on, you know." No, not for me. So and that's the problem, is that you've got to be an artist, you've got to be an accountant, you've got to be a salesman, you've got to be into PR, you've got to put yourself about, you've got to share. You're a one-man band, really.
Yeah.
Whereas proper galleries are doing all that for you. All they want is the work.
The thing that I don't quite understand, you can get a really good gallery that will represent you, and they'll support you, and they'll do a nice booklet of your work, and they'll get you out there, promote you. And then you have another gallery that sells lots of people's work. They still take the same percentage, don't they? But they don't even do any of that for you, really.
They're glorified shops. Galleries are glorified shops.
Yeah.
And and that's part of what my tack has changed over the last few years, is that come to me. I
so you just really don't. You've just sort of thought,
cut out the middleman. Yeah.
It.
The problem is that these galleries are people run by people primarily who've got no understanding of what art is about, or what makes a painter tick. All they're interested in is the bottom line. Is that, will that painting make me money?
Yeah.
And will it pay my rates?
Yeah.
And that's not a great relationship you want to have, unless the gallery owner's a millionaire and they're just doing it because you love your work. Then that's a different relationship. Then they can afford to nurture you, support you. But the reality is, lots of galleries are just in there to make money.
What about North Yorkshire Open Studios? Have you thought about that? Have you ever thought of doing that?
Yeah, they turned me down this year.
Pardon?
Yeah, I applied. And
Did
they turned
you?
Me down. Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's a
they
bit
turned
of
me
a
down.
shock, isn't it?
Yeah, it shocked me a bit.
How did you feel?
I thought, you fuckers. Yeah.
My God.
They turned me down, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, fair enough. I mean, like everybody else.
Well, yeah, you just apply and like everybody else. There's always that risk.
There's always that risk. But what happened this year was that they said, if you've already exhibited, you're guaranteed a place. So I just kind of assumed, maybe that was I made the wrong assumption.
Oh, I've not read that bit.
So I just applied, and I said, I'll do it again this year. Sorry, Mr. Cunningham, and I'm not had a letter like that ever, rejecting. I thought, well, that's a kind of wake-up call. And I thought, oh, fuckers. And I thought, right, okay. But then that's another, that just reinforces my own belief about people, and they're not artists, who made these decisions.
Well, I suppose there's different selectors every year, aren't
they?
No,
but the point I'm making is you're still submitting yourself to the decisions of other people. You're not in control of your own future.
Yeah.
That's why I get really annoyed. I had a friend of mine called Piers Brown. He's just died recently. He's a fantastic artist. He looks like, or he reminds me of like Luke Picard of Starship Enterprise. Like Patrick Stewart. He looked like him. He talked like that. Very bright. Went to Royal Academy and all that. He lived in this amazing house near Hawes, which was it's basically a mansion, but it was their weekend cottage. Yeah? And I love Piers,
Nice.
and unfortunately he's died this year. But what am I going to say? So he turned up to London, a posh gallery, and with his van, and the guy came out, the gallery director came out the van, opened up the van, looked at the painter, no. Hey, pardon? No.
What?
And then they had to drive all the way back up the north again,
dear,
you know.
yeah.
And he was quite an established painter.
Yeah.
So the point is, these people are making decisions.
You wonder why they even said come down, don't you?
I don't know. Yeah. So these people are making decisions about you as a painter, as an artist, and I don't like that. And I know if it's a good painting or it's a bad painting. So it really irritates me. So I'm developing.
Does that mean you won't apply next year?
No, you can fuck off. I'm not doing that now. You can publish that. Fuck off. No, but what it does is reinforces the point that actually other people are making decisions about your work. And fair enough. Yeah, I get that. You know, probably wasn't the best submission.
I'm a selector at the Open exhibition. This is so interesting.
Yeah. But if you do it with integrity,
have you put one in for that?
No, I haven't. Don't worry. I'm not entering anything now. So, but there are advantages to that, because I mean, a few years ago I opened for the Rydale Folk Museum, and I got one shot at that. But I don't normally do that. No, there was an open show at the Rydale Folk Museum, and I thought, I'll put one in.
Yeah.
And he got accepted, and I got to know the gallery, and then they gave me one show. So there's benefits to that.
Yeah.
I get that, but I think, you know, you're still subject to the whims of somebody's fancies, and they either like your work or they don't like your work or whatever. And you know, so.
But it's you're very good at getting known, aren't you? And putting yourself about, and a bit of sensationalism.
Yeah, do that all the time.
Come to some of that.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, is it? Especially if we're not as brave as you and as outgoing as you.
You've got to. I mean, the problem with that is that, you know, he's off it. He's doing it again. You know, he's got his face in the magazine again, or he's doing that. That's all part of the art game. You know, if you think about Damien Hirst, you think about all those guys.
I think of you as our Scarborough's Damien Hirst.
Oh, I say, when me and John did a big idea, I call ourselves a KLF. KLF of Scarborough. You know, the radicals. Yeah, I'm a Scarborough's Damien Hirst, but not as wealthy. You know, but if I went, I nearly went to Goldsmiths. Maybe if I'd gone to Goldsmiths, you know, in London, and this would have been pre-Damien Hirst time, maybe that would have happened for me. You know, I could have been in that world.
Could have been, yeah.
You know, you're in the world of money, and I certainly would have been as adventurous and as, you know, Damien Hirst. Credit to him. But it's all right being Scarborough's kind of Damien Hirst, but you need the money to support that.
Yeah.
And I've got some friends who live in London. And they make all of the sculptures for all the main artists. He has a big studio down at Greenwich, and his studio is an old Tate and Lyle studio, and it's massive. It's probably about 300 metres long by 100 metres wide. It's massive. He has 100 people working for him, making all these sculptures for all the big artists. Yeah. And I went down there to see him a few years ago, and he's working some significant stuff. He did all the Chapman Brothers stuff. The rude ones with the dicks and stuff like that, and they were just lying there and unpainted. I said, "Are they worth?" And he said, "No." He said, "When I paint them, put them in a glass box. They're worth a fortune." He said, "That's my pension," because he gets an artist proof. They're artist proofs. And I don't know. I digressed onto that. It's that you need people behind you, you know, supporting your galleries. And he has a line. It's interesting. He has a line in the studio. I'll digress now. He got a line in the studio where he'll make it cost 40, 50 grand to make. He pushes it to the line, and then the art collectors of the gallery will come along with their art collectors, dealers or removals. He'll sign for it. He won't push it. They have to pull it, because then it's insured then for £1 million. If he pushes it and it drops, it's his problem. They have to pull it onto the other side.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, and I thought that's really interesting, because then that's the different world of the art world. You know, it's probably sold, whatever. Yeah. I don't know how to digress. So this idea of somebody else having control over my future always rankled me. Of somebody telling me, maybe it's just a thing with me, telling people, making decisions about me as an artist.
So, do you really strategize? Is that the right word?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So you've always thought, oh well, this is how I'm gonna do it, or what I'm going to do, or do you just get?
I take risks. The auction was a risk.
Take
the
risks,
bungalow's a risk. You take risks.
Yeah.
If it scares me, I have to do it.
But it's just the imagination.
Yeah, it's like Gilbert and George said. We have to scare ourselves every day. Every day we have to scare ourselves. I do. I have to.
Yeah.
Do
you spend a lot of time thinking about what can I do next?
Well, yeah. Well, the next project is the Lake District project. I've been waiting for this for a while and now I've got the money. Well, the auction was a way of getting the money to pay for this next year, 18 months.
Okay.
And what I'm going to be doing as well is hiring lots of church halls. So every valley has its own church hall or community centre where you can hire for 2 days, 150 quid for 2 days. But they're massive. You can get 200 people in. Yeah. So I can do these really big paintings in there. So each valley will have its own location for me to paint, but that's paid for by the auction. I don't have to worry about that. I'm planning it now for this year. Yeah. I'm going to be in the Lake District every month for a week, but it's paid for. Yeah. I don't have to worry about it. And I'm going to film it all as well, and that'll be paid for. So that's kind of strategically thinking about, I can make some money from that, hopefully, and then that'll pay for that. That'll produce a new body of work. I can make some videos, and that'll pay for that. Then I'll have a show. So it's kind of boom, really, just kind of thinking about how you can pay for. It's essentially how you can pay for the work to get produced. How you can create a position where you can make the work that you want to make, without, somebody saying no, you can't do that. So
I suppose you do have the luxury of having a pension.
I do, but it's only a small pension. It's only a small one. But I get my state pension in 2 years, 3 years, with quids in.
Yeah, you'll be off.
Quids in. Yeah, quids in. Me and my missus got our state pensions in 3.5 years. With quids in, we're loaded.
Yeah. God, happy days.
Oh, happy days, yeah.
Right,
Posh
so we better talk about the bungalow, the house project. So that's probably what you're best known for, really. And I read somewhere, the house project has raised my profile globally.
Yeah.
Through worldwide media coverage and interviews for BBC, Radio World Service and the Radio France International.
Yeah.
It has offered me many creative opportunities, including the chance to develop new works for the Tour de France, which you said.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from. I mean, remember David Hockney said, "Believe what an artist does, not what an artist says." Yeah. By the way of that, I met Hockney's brother, and Hockney owns 80% of everything he's ever produced.
Really?
Yeah. I did an exhibition with Hockney's brother, because Hockney's brother was his I don't know if he's still alive now, but he was his accountant.
Right.
So he knows exactly what he's worth. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. And then, so we've got the Tour de France, which might be a bit dubious. And then, but you also recently produced a new work for the City of York, a social sculpture integrated into the City of York wall, which includes QR codes, a commissioned ceramic pot, and soil from King Richard III's grave. Well, how did you manage that?
Let me tell you that happened. If you live in Scarborough, or there's North Yorkshire, if you live in York, you will know of John Oxley. John Oxley, MBE, and John was a City of York archaeologist. Now, John's been a friend of mine for 20 years, so he was involved in all of that Richard III stuff, and he kind of said, well, it is what it is. But he always maintained that Richard III always intended York as being the capital of England, right? Because he's from Yorkshire, was always intended that. Is it Middleham? I think it was a castle, that area anyway. So he always intended York, he believes, to be the capital. And in some ways that he should make that journey back to York. But anyway, they found him and whatever. So John got to know the people involved in all of that. And I got involved in a project, I think York 2011 might have been, project. And I said to John, it'd be great, we'll make a pot and a piece of art, and we'll invite lots of people to put things in it, and blah, 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 blah. And I'd love to get some soil from Richard III's grave. He said, well, maybe we can sort that one out. So John got to his contact in Leicester from the university. Said, can we have some soil from the grave? Yeah, no problem.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. So I got a bag of soil from Richard III's grave, and I've always maintained it's got his DNA in there. So,
have you had it tested?
No, I haven't. But for purposes of PR, it's definitely in there.
Yeah.
No, but I thought it was really good. So then we got this soil, which is Richard III's grave, in a pot inside a bridge in York, So you come out the train station in York, you'll see an arched bridge. It's then there.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay.
it's quite a big pot. It's about a metre high.
Has the bridge got a name?
No, it's on the city walls.
Right.
So the city walls. So we opened up this big slab. We made a performance out of it. We lifted it up and then we dropped it down. But interestingly enough, there was also something in there that was over 200 years old. Oh, the city architects or builders had probably done something similar. There was a little thing in there as well.
Right. Okay.
So that'll be there in perpetuity until something happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you come out the train station.
And has it got a big label on it saying Richard III?
No, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know it's there. It's in the box. It is. Yeah, on the sculpture, and in the box there's a memory card as well. They probably won't be able to use them now. Memory stick and some information about that and about the project. So it's been there 2011 now, so it's over 12, 13 years. So maybe there for the next 100 years more.
Right. So back to the bungalow.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot from that we can talk about later maybe. But tell me more about. So again,
what
another
happened?
mad idea.
Yeah. What happened was So a friend of mine, Mike Campbell, who used to teach photography at Westwood with me, his partner, Dad, owned the bungalow. And so these bungalows have been going off the cliff.
This was quite a while after the Holbeck Hall fell in, wasn't it? Yeah.
And he said, so he'd been paid out, and he just wanted to get rid of the house. And I said, how much does he want?
Paid out because they were
insurance
going into the right because they were going into the
going into the sea or whatever. And I said, well, how much does he want for it? He said £3,000. I said, I'll have it. I'll have it. I'll have it. So he rang up.
But what made you think?
It's just an amazing thing to have, wasn't it? To have a house that's going to fall into the sea and to create a piece of art out of it. And I bought it on my credit card. And I remember it well. We're sitting outside a cafe in the centre of Scarborough, and I remember Mike rang him up and said, yeah, you can have it for that. And then Louise came along and said, I've just bought a house for £3,000, on my credit card. Well, you are. And I had it for £3,000. And he thought, really what he was doing was trying to get rid of it, because he thought it was going to be the cost of all of that. And I thought, I'll have it. He said, well, you only get 3 months out of it. And I had it for 3 years.
Right.
And it was amazing.
When you say make a piece of art out of it, what?
Yeah, an art installations. What I did, I invited artists to come and do something to it. And I destroyed it internally as well. So I also used it as a studio for 3 years.
Right, okay.
For nothing.
Were you ever actually worried it might fall in while you were painting?
No, not at all. It was actually on a slab of concrete, so if it was going to fall, it would slide. But I invited this Nigerian artist there called Jalili. He stayed there for a week. He was dressed in all his African gear. He looked really.
How did you know him?
It was from a friend of mine who was an artist in Scarborough called Graham Martin. So he invited him over. So he stayed in the house for a week. And then all these performance artists from London turned up, and various other painters.
How did that happen?
They saw it on TV, so they contacted me. And then all these other people turned up. So it became a performance, installation, sculpture, a performance space, and a studio. And then, it became lots of TV.
And did you approach the TV and the
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, of course I did. Yeah. So I write 2 or 3 press releases. One for the Guardian, one for the Daily Mail, one for the Sun, and they're all different.
Yeah.
I used long words for the Guardian, short words for the Sun. But I knew the Sun or the Daily Mail would really go for that. What? And sure enough. So I sent this press release out. I bought it just before Christmas, sent the press release out on something like the 28th or 29th of January. December. There's a no news week, nothing's happening. And it just got picked up and it went crazy. It absolutely went crazy, And I rang a friend of mine called Jerry Scott, who's died now, who used to work for BBC Radio York. I said, Jerry, I want to do... It's Kane, he said, just a man. He said, it's going crazy. Can you get down here quick?
Wow.
And I was doing interview after interview after interview. I did one for the BBC World Service, French World Service, Dutch World Service. And I remember doing this one for the BBC World Service. And they were saying... and they were talking about something in Somalia and somewhere else. It's very posh. He said, you do realise this is an international audience? I said, well, thank you for telling me just before I go live. And then they were chatting to me, and then we've got to Kane in Yorkshire. And then, but you can't have it in your mind that you're talking to the world. You can't have that in your mind. You've got to think to yourself, I'm talking to somebody on the other end of a phone or something. and you think this is being listened to around the world, and it just went bizarre. You know,
did it actually help you sell work though, or did it actually bring any money
I don't know if
in?
it sold me because I wasn't producing work then. I was just doing stuff in the school. I think probably since. And whenever I do radio or TV now, I did a thing recently in BBC Radio York. There are many, and the guy started off by saying, "Now many of you remember the house project, won't you? About the house at the end of the cliff." Yeah. And this is Kane, and we'll talk. So they know me from that. So it always predicates whatever I do, the house project, as a way of people saying, "Oh yeah, it was that guy. Yeah, it was that guy who did that." You know.
Yeah.
And it works all the time, and I use it to my advantage. But I understood how the media worked. You've got about 24 hours, 48 hours at most, to do a story. Now I'll tell you another one. Do you remember years and years ago a whale swimming up the Thames? Vaguely. Did you? Vaguely. Yeah. Well, that knocked me off the news item that morning.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was doing something else, and so a whale swam up the Thames, and all of a sudden that's a more interesting news story.
Right. Okay.
So I knew if I got a clear break for 48 hours, there's nothing else going on in the world. Another time they did a big piece for the Daily Mail or something, newspapers. Double page spread, whatever it was, can't remember who it was. What happened? Lady Di got killed. Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
I got superseded by something else.
Yeah.
But that's the way it works. But if you get that window,
if you're lucky enough,
at that window, then things can happen, and then you can get the, you can. But then I started. And what was really interesting is that I started getting more confident about what I was saying about the house, and saying things that are just slightly antagonistic, but I knew that I might be a bit provocative.
Yeah.
And it happened. Some friends of mine were in New York. The New York Times did a piece, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. So a friend of mine was in New York, and said, this guy was tour guy saying, "Where are you from?" He said, "From Scarborough." He said, "How, man, the house project, man, the house project." So it'd been all in New York. And it went all around the world. And I was watching it on Google. And you could watch it just open up around the world,
Wow.
The story being picked
Exciting.
up. Of course, all news items everybody's looking for something else. And the beauty about the local newspaper is Scarborough Evening News is it's syndicated. So if you get a story in the local newspaper, it can travel around the world really quickly.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And they're owned by the Daily Mail, so you just know that it's going to travel. You understand then how that works. But yeah, I did so.
I'm just trying to imagine how you must have felt when the council came and said they're going to have to demolish it. Because obviously you
I
wanted
was
to
really
see
annoyed
it
because, but I kind of knew that was the inevitable conclusion for the house.
Did you know that before you?
Yeah, I always knew.
Quite early on.
I always
So
knew
you weren't
this.
really expecting
No, I
it
wasn't
to fall
really, and
in.
it cost me $3,000 to get it knocked down.
Did you have to pay for that?
Yeah, I paid for it. But a friend of mine at the time said to me, "You've had about £1 million worth of free advertising for this project." Yeah, it's just like, fair enough. Yeah. So it was kind of a fun thing to do. It was quite stressful because I got a lot of painting stolen as well from the house.
Did you?
Yeah, and it ended up going to Crown Court.
Really? And did they find the culprit?
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. What it was a guy that lived on the estate, and he had some friends who. I can put it. He had some people that he knew thought that my paintings might be worth some money, and I didn't realise this. I must have left the French doors open, and they came in and took everything. They cleared me out as well as a friend of mine.
God.
Anyway, so I rang the police. Big story. £100,000 worth of art being stolen. Blah blah blah. I thought, opportunity here, a bit of marketing and PR.
Yeah. You didn't pay him to do it?
No, I didn't. No. Well, the police questioned me as if I did.
Really?
The first thing they said to me was it insured? I said they weren't insured. So,
Yeah.
And then it turned out, and John came to see me. He said, "I know he's done it." He said, "I'll get him back." He said, "I'm really angry with these guys." He said, "I know he's done it." He said, "John, I'm going to have to tell the police you know about it." So they arrested him. And he got charged with aiding and abetting. But he wouldn't.
Really?
He wouldn't fess up who it was. He knew who they were.
Yeah.
And he arranged for them all to be brought back. So they all turned up in the back of a low loader, and I brought them all back. Anyway, next thing you know, it's at Crown Court in York, and John was going to get put down, because he wouldn't admit it. See, he had nothing to do with it, but he knew I'd done it.
Oh dear.
And he wouldn't fess up on his friends.
Oh dear.
And so I was sitting in the courtroom waiting, not courtroom, the side room. So my barrister was talking to me. Prosecuting barrister was talking to me and Mick, and And there was all these guys on the opposite side with like broken noses and this, that, and the other. And I said to this bar, I said, no, I said, John's a nice guy, I like him. You know, he brought him back and he sorted it all out. So I don't want him to go to jail. You know, don't want him to go to jail. He said, fine. Anyway, through that, he got community service or something like that. And then when I walked out, all of these guys were standing with John. You know, I'm thinking, if I would have said something different, I'm sure my kneecaps would have gone by now. And it turned out they were on their way to Ireland and they got brought back because my name's Cunningham, so they thought they might be worth some money over in Ireland. Yeah.
Right. Gosh, is Cunningham an Irish? I know you're from Irish.
It's Scottish. Dad's was Scottish Irish, so I was Scottish Irish, but they thought they might be worth some money.
Wow, gosh.
Because I've had the irony of it all, because I've had all this PR and marketing.
Yeah.
So they thought my paintings might be worth some
money. There might have been if you'd got some of it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's probably Would you say you're ambitious?
I'm ambitious from a painting. I've produced one painting last year, which I thought that's it, that's that. If I can produce another 100 like that, I'll be as happy as ever. But I'm ambitious from a painting, and I'm on the next project is the Lake District, and I'm really excited about these new paintings because I know.
What sort of size will you do those?
Big ones, 5 foot by 4 feet, and smaller ones, but they're going to be more focused on the landscape as a memory and as an experience, as opposed to painting what's in front.
Right,
It'll be topographical, hints of where they are, but they won't be an exact copy.
So you wouldn't necessarily know that was where they're up.
No, you would. You would know that's Raven Crag, or you would know that's St John's Vale. You would know that, but because the Lake Districts, if people spend the time in the Lake District, you will know you get a beautiful clear day and you can see everything, and then it's pissing down, it's snowing, it's ice, you can't see a thing, and then all of a sudden you get St John's Crag just appear fleetingly. So you just need that to give a context of where it is, but the rest of it can be as abstract as you want, you know, and that's what it'll be. So it'll be
just a little snippet of recognition.
Yeah, recognition of where they are. That helps. It's just a point of entry into that landscape, and then but there'll be very subtle Chinese feel about them. You know, washes, lots of washes, just simple washes, quite reductionist paintings. There won't be a lot of paint on these. And
then you're going to create a book.
Book. We've already started the video.
Who does your videos for you? So you've got a lot of videos on your website, haven't you? So people can see a lot of you out in the landscape.
Yeah, but on my Facebook site now, you'll see a 3-minute video. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched some of it. Yeah,
some of it. You should watch all of it.
I'll watch it later.
3-minute taster of what
I probably
did
watch it all, actually.
You probably
saying that, but I definitely turned it on.
A 3-minute taster of what we're going to be doing.
Yeah,
so we're going to be filming over the next year, and then.
And who films it?
A local filmmaker called Matt Storm Cooper. Matt.
And
that's
does
his real
he get
name.
paid to do that?
Yeah, I pay him. But that's what the auction's done.
Yeah, so it's
I'm paying him his day rate to make a film. So
and he's used drones because a lot of it's over drones and very professionally done.
Beautifully done.
So what was his name again?
Matt Storm Cooper is a Storm. Storm are a very old family from Robinhood's Bay. The Storms, they were fishermen. Yeah. So he's part of that heritage. Lovely lad, a great filmmaker, and he's kind of directing me a little bit. I know what I want, but he's also directing me what's got some fantastic. And when we review the drone shots, that's great. The thing is, we were filming in Borrowdale, which is the wettest place in England. So we had 2 really nice days of weather, you know. So we needed some stormy weather. So Matt's going to be coming up. I'm again paying for Matt to come up over the next 3 or 4 times over this year to film me doing various things, and then we're going to make a film, some documentary of that.
And you'll have your book. And how are you hoping? Have you got an exhibition lined up for me?
No, I haven't. But I am thinking that it'll be somewhere in the Lake District, probably. The exhibition will be somewhere in the lakes, and I might just hire a village hall. Right. That's the simplest way to do it. Hire a village hall for a weekend, and then invite people to see the show.
Do you have a mailing list then?
Not really. I have a mailing list of friends. I don't really have a mailing list.
How would you promote it?
Social media. My little videos can get 3,000 or 4,000 views really easily, 10,000 views.
Yeah, on Facebook.
On Facebook, and then through other strategies as well, press release like that. There's a way of reaching tens of thousands of people. And of course I'd go for magazine coverage as well. So there's a way of reaching people that could do that.
So you're quite good at that. That's something I'm really bad at.
It's a pain in the arse because you've got to kind of be at it all the time.
It takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like you've got a pain in the arse, but it's just kind of necessary evil really, because people want to know who you are, or they're buying into it. And this video it'd be very, very watchable as well, because it's just the lakes, it's just a beautiful drone shots, just gliding along the lake or the mountains and revealing new valleys, and it's just like wow, nice subtle music as well. So it won't be me pontificating a lot. The landscape is the star, so it'll just be watching that with me doing a bit of painting, and then there'll be an exhibition at the end of it all, probably the end of next year. But that's really exciting. But coming back to what I was saying, the auction's going to pay for that. I'll pay for all of this for this year and part of next year, and then sell those paintings, then you pay for another year. So that's what it's about, isn't it? It's what we do. You pay the bills, and you got to do that.
Yeah.
But it's about earning enough money to paint, to do what you want to do. Buying paintings is a way of facilitating what you do as an artist, and that's what you do really. Yeah. Along the way.
Would you ever consider retiring?
Well, painters won't retire. I think no, you don't retire, because I retired from teaching 7 years ago. So you don't retire. What it does now, I'm energised by what I do. I love being in the lakes. I love being in the dales. The lakes are amazing. So and how do you respond to that? Well, you make a painting. But I don't always paint all the time. I do a lot of walking. And get into places. But all of that information and ideas are kind of assimilated, which then comes out in a painting later on. So I'm not an obsessive painter that has to paint every day. I think about it every day, too much probably, but it's a lot of planning. I like if I go to the Lake District, say I go to the Lake District next week, well, it's going to cost me at least 400 quid to get there. Accommodation, petrol, food, materials, or if you include materials, you can put another 200. So each trip will probably cost 500 quid. So you've got to think, so you've got to plan it ahead. So there's an expense, but that's all part of it. It's just all, so the money element. So when people buying your paintings, what they're essentially doing is giving you time to do more stuff, and that's what we do. It's just a slog, but we do it because that's what we love.
I forgot to ask you, when you were teaching, did you paint and still?
But that's why I didn't use sketchbooks, because I didn't have time. Whereas at weekends I could just get stuck in and I could produce work, and it became a habit. Even though I used to nag the students about keeping sketchbooks, I never used to keep one myself. Never.
You hypocrite.
I know, I was. Yeah, shocking.
So I wanted to ask you about your legacy.
Legacy. I think my legacy at this stage is probably the students that I used to teach, and hopefully they're all doing the good things. And a lot of them now are teachers locally. They all teach in the local schools.
Stayed in art.
Yeah, they've stayed. Stayed. Yeah, become heads of department, local schools. So I think that's my legacy, I think, so far.
And then finally, have you got any advice for any upcoming artists? Find
your subject, and then that's half the battle. Find your subject, and then paint for yourself, and then find an audience and people that buy your work. But essentially, find a subject that you're interested in, that you're passionate about. Don't paint for a market. Paint for yourself. But then find an audience who can appreciate your work, and they will find you as well, and to sell some paintings. But essentially, do what you love, and what gets you out of bed, what makes you think about things, what inspires you. Do it for yourself. The key is to find your subject, and my subject is the landscape. And once you've found that, then you're halfway there. Then you think to yourself, well, then how do I make that happen?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks, Kane, and thank you so much for your time. It's been really interesting talking to you.
Waffled on a bit then, didn't I?
No, you didn't. You didn't. It's been fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Join me next week when I'll be speaking to abstract artist Dan R. Cook.